to because that's how family actually gets.
Listen to me. I don't have to. He
Chrissy,
has to. That's your son.
No,
he has to. I don't
you
have
have to remember.
This is a choice.
Once you and him get married, and really, as far as I'm concerned, y'all are married, okay? And if you're part of him, okay, and that means he's definitely me, that means that you're part of me.
I don't have to because that's how. Family actually gets to listen to me. I don't have to. He has to. That's your son. He has to. You have to remember, once you and he get married, as far as I'm concerned, why all are married, okay? And if you're part of him, okay. That means he's definitely a part of me. That means that you're part of me. The tension in the room was palpable as Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin faced off, their voices rising in a heated argument. Friends and family stood nearby, exchanging glances, unsure of how to intervene. Jim, known for his fiery temper, was escalating quickly, and Chrissy was not backing down. "You think you can just talk to me like that?" Chrissy shouted, her voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. "You've crossed a line, Jim." Jim's frustration boiled over. "You don't get to dictate how I handle things," he barked, his face flushed with emotion. The air crackled with tension as he took a step closer, his eyes narrowing. In a sudden, shocking move, he slapped Chrissy across the face. The sound echoed in the room, and everyone gasped, stunned into silence. Chrissy stumbled back, her hand flying to her cheek, shock giving way to intense fury. "You've lost your mind," she yelled, her voice now a mixture of disbelief and outrage. The atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically, tension thickening as everyone processed what had just happened. Just then, Jim's son, who had been watching from the sidelines, stepped forward. He had seen enough. "Dad, that's enough. You can't treat her like that." His voice was firm, filled with a blend of concern and indignation. "Stay out of this," Jim snapped, but his son stood his ground, determination etched across his face. "No, I won't. You can't just hit her and expect everything to be okay. You're better than this, Dad." The room buzzed with tension as the confrontation unfolded, the onlookers frozen in disbelief. "Better than this," Jim echoed, incredulous. "You think you know how to run my life? I'm the one who makes the rules here." "You're making a huge mistake," his son replied, shaking his head in disappointment. "This isn't how you handle problems. You're pushing everyone away." Chrissy, still reeling from the slap, took a step closer, her voice steadier now. "You need to listen to him, Jim. This is toxic, and I won't stand for it." Her tone was resolute, cutting through the tension like a knife. In a moment of defiance, Jim's son pointed toward the door. "If you think this is okay, then maybe you need to leave. This isn't the man I look up to." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Jim's face turned a deeper shade of red, a mixture of embarrassment and anger boiling over. "You think you can kick me out of my own house?" he growled. But his son didn't waver. "Yes, I can. If this is how you treat the people you love, then you're not welcome here. You need to get your act together." The tension in the room was electric. Everyone held their breath, watching as Jim grappled with the confrontation. The weight of his son's words seemed to resonate, and for a moment he hesitated, caught between anger and realization. "Fine," he spat, his voice low and strained. "If that's how it's going to be, I'll leave with that." Jim stormed out the front door, slamming it behind him. The moment he left, the atmosphere shifted. Chrissy and his son exchanged a glance, relief washing over them. "Are you okay?" his son asked, concern etched on his face as he turned to Chrissy. She nodded, though her emotions were still raw. "I will be. I just can't believe he crossed that line. It's not just about the slap, it's everything leading up to it." "Neither can I," his son replied, shaking his head. "We need to stand our ground. This isn't just about today, it's about what we allow in our lives moving forward." They both took a deep breath, the weight of the situation settling around them. It wasn't just about a physical altercation, it was a wake-up call. Jim had been spiraling, and both of them knew it. As they sat in the quiet room, the reality of the moment began to sink in. "I've always cared about him, but I can't let this continue," Chrissy said, her voice soft but resolute. "I won't let him treat me or anyone like that anymore." His son nodded in agreement. "We need to address this as a family. If he's willing to change, then maybe there's hope. But if not, we have to protect ourselves." The conversation lingered in the air, a mix of hope and uncertainty. They both understood that confronting Jim about his behavior wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary. Hours passed, and the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the room. "Do you think he'll come back?" Chrissy asked, a hint of worry in her voice. "I don't know," his son replied thoughtfully, "but if he does, we have to be ready. We can't just sweep this under the rug." It's time to have an honest conversation. As the night wore on, the bond between Chrissy and his son grew stronger. They had stood together against the tide of toxicity, creating a safe space for one another. The road ahead would be challenging, but they were prepared to face it, united in their determination to foster a healthier environment. When Jim returned later, it would be under a new understanding. The door had been opened for change, and both Chrissy and his son were ready to walk through it together. In a sleek, modern studio filled with the soft hum of anticipation, Jim Jones sat across from the camera, the weight of his emotions clear on his face. He leaned forward, ready to unveil a shocking chapter of his life. "Let me get straight to the point," he began, his voice steady yet charged with intensity. "For years, I thought I had it all figured out: love, success, a future with Chrissy. But recently, I discovered something that shattered everything I believed in. My wife, Chrissy Lampkin, stole my $7 million. He paused, letting the gravity of his words sink in. His eyes locked on the camera, as if daring anyone to challenge his truth. "You hear me? $7 million, that's not chump change. I built my career from the ground up, hustling every day to make a name for myself. And to find out that the person I trusted most had been plotting against me. That's a betrayal I never saw coming." Jim leaned back, shaking his head in disbelief. "It started with some little things, a few strange transactions, money missing from accounts. I thought maybe it was just mismanagement or some bad investments. But then I decided to dig deeper. I had to know what was going on. And what I found, it was like a scene out of a movie." His expression turned serious, a mix of anger and hurt. "I discovered hidden accounts, transactions that led to places I never agreed to. Chrissy had been moving my money around like it was her own personal piggy bank. The shock of it all hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, we built our lives together. I thought we were a team." He leaned forward again, intensity radiating from him. "When I confronted her, it was like I was speaking to a stranger. The denial, the excuses. It was surreal. Here was someone I considered my partner, my ride or die, and she was looking me dead in the eye, acting like it was all in my head, but I had the proof, I had the documents. The bank statements. It was all right there." Jim took a deep breath, the pain still fresh. "What hurts the most is that I would have given her the world. I wanted to build a future with her, and instead she chose to betray that trust. Love is supposed to be about honesty and loyalty. But in that moment, I felt like a fool for believing in her." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bubbling over. "I'm not one to air out dirty laundry, but this isn't just about money. It's about respect. It's about the foundation of what we were supposed to have. I've learned the hard way that sometimes the people closest to you can be the ones who hurt you the most." His gaze softens, reflecting on the journey ahead. "I'm picking up the pieces now, focusing on my music and my brand. It's going to take time, but I refuse to let this define me. I've come too far to let one betrayal hold me back. So I'm taking my power back, one step at a time." With a determined look, Jim straightens up, ready to face whatever comes next. "I hope this serves as a wake-up call for anyone out there who thinks they know their partner. Trust your instincts and always keep your eyes open. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows." As he finishes, the room feels charged with a mix of resilience and heartbreak, a testament to a man ready to reclaim his narrative and forge a new path forward. Jim Jones and his longtime girlfriend, Chrissy Lampkin, have allegedly called it quits after a cryptic post she made on her Instagram story on Friday, September 20th. Chrissy wrote, "You and I both know you'll never find someone like me. Good luck trying though. I'll have you replaced by tomorrow." It's unclear what prompted the post, but the pair's relationship has a long and documented rocky history. The couple met nearly 20 years ago after a 2004 encounter in a lounge in Harlem. In 2011, Lampkin and Jim joined the cast of Love Hip Hop New York. While the couple appeared to care deeply for each other, it was obvious that Jim Jones often had reservations about marrying Chrissy. Later in the series, she proposed to the We Fly High Ballin rapper. While he did say yes when she got down on one knee, the couple has yet to tie the knot. On December 13th, Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones were seen backstage at Palooza at Barclays Center in New York City. At some point, it has to stop, Chrissy tells Jim. By 2021, despite being together for 18 years, Lampkin seemed over the idea of marriage. On VH1's third season of Family Reunion Love Hip Hop Edition, after Jim proposed the idea of them finally getting married, she surprisingly said no. She added, "You want me to be this loving, sexual, crazy cook, this, that, and the other, but you come home, and you're mean, you're cold, and you're distant. The couple had a fiery back and forth where Jones acknowledged his wrongdoings in fear of commitment. I've always been a man for my family, so all I know how to do is try to support and make money. I don't want you thinking I'm selfish in any way because I love you more than anything in this world. In Chrissy's opinion, at some point it has to stop. The living room is dimly lit, clothes are scattered around, and an open laptop sits on the coffee table. Chrissy, visibly upset, sits on the couch, her eyes red from crying. She clutches her phone tightly, staring at it with disbelief. She scrolls through a series of photos, revealing Jim with another woman, laughing and holding hands. Chrissy's face reflects heartbreak and anger. The front door opens, and Jim enters casually, unaware of the tension. He freezes upon seeing Chrissy's distressed expression. Jim approaches, concern washing over his face. Chrissy stands, her posture tense, and holds up her phone, showing him the photos. Jim's face pales as he realizes what she's referring to. He runs a hand through his hair, clearly struggling to find the right words. Chrissy shakes her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. She turns away, trying to process her emotions. Jim takes a step closer, desperation in his eyes as he tries to explain himself. Chrissy crosses her arms, distancing herself emotionally. She turns to look out the window, her heart heavy, while Jim stands back, guilt etched on his face. After a moment, Jim nods, understanding the weight of his actions, and quietly leaves the room. Chrissy collapses onto the couch, sobbing, the phone slipping from her hands. She stares blankly at the scattered clothes around her, feeling lost and betrayed. The camera pulls back, capturing the desolation in the room as Chrissy struggles to find a sense of peace amidst the chaos.